Alright, here is the design we're getting ready to start painting. I've titled it Beauty in Red, and we've added some metallic paints around the border here to give it a little bit of a shine. I haven't put my finish coat on this, my varnish, yet, because I didn't want it to be so bright in the camera. But once you put your varnish on this, whether it be satin or gloss, wow, this is going to pop and it's going to be just gorgeous. So let's get started on this beautiful project. Alright, we're going to start on this project. I want to paint the center of this first. I'm going to use Silver Sage Green, and I'm going to pray over this bottle that I have enough to do this project, because if I don't, I'm going to be changing my color on the second base coat. And I am really unsure if I'm going to have enough here. I'm going to give it a try. If not, I'll have to completely change the color. Okay, Silver Sage Green. I'm going to put it in here in the center. I'm just using an artist sponge because I can form this sponge to get right up to that edge there. One good coat on here. We're base coating the rim of it a different color. Now all I did to prep this plate, which came from IKEA, see, it already had a finish on it. I just sanded this side of it and sanded the finish off of it. So then it's good to go and paint on. And actually, before I started, I cannot believe I did not do this, but I need my multi-purpose sealer on the raw wood. And I should have stuck it on here, and I didn't. That's probably why it was taking so much paint to cover that inner circle. So I will definitely put a coat of multi-purpose sealer on the outer edge, but I should have done it here in the middle. That is an important step when you're painting on wood, so don't ever forget that step, like me, who just forgot it. Okay, I'm going to let this dry, and then we're going to come back and work on it some more. Alright, getting started on this project. This plate is from IKEA. It's a 12.5 inch plate. It was already finished, so you can see the shine on it. So I just sanded it down, a coat of multi-purpose sealer. In the center, I sponged on with my artist sponge soft sage. Now we're going to sponge on the outer rim here, and we're going to base it in with Desert Cactus. It is a new color from DecoArt this year. I better put a little bit more out here. So again, I'm just going to use my artist sponge and put a coat on here. It goes on very quickly. Don't give pressure so it won't go over your edges. And you can just go all the way around. Quick coat just like that. Alright, so I'm going to get this dry so we can get a second coat on here. Alright, my first coat is dry, so I'm going to apply a second coat very quickly on here. Alright, I'm going to throw that in my water basin because I'm done with that. I'm going to move on to a sea sponge now. This is a very soft sea sponge. I've dampened it. I got it from Hobby Lobby. If you are trying to find the best sea sponge for you in the package, if it feels really hard when it's dry, it's not going to soften up much. But if it feels a little bit squishy inside the package, it's going to be a really nice soft one for you. Okay, so I want to keep this outside border a little damp, so I'm going to spritz it. I'm going to pick up on my sea sponge a little bit of the color that we put in here, which is soft sage. And I want to start applying a little bit of this around the border. Bring that color out. I want to work fairly quickly because I don't want any paint to dry in my sea sponge, so I want to be able to go and clean it quickly so I can keep it a soft sponge. Okay, that's looking good. Okay, next we're going to pick up on this same sea sponge some metallic paint. This is dark patina. So I'm going to pick that up on a spot on my start a little bit more, I think. Alright, there we go. Oops, I'm getting it over into my center there, so I'll rebase coat that. Might be easier if you do the outside edge first, so you don't get it in there like that, or just keep a damp sponge handy and clean up as you go. But I think I'll just rebase coat it. That would just be easier. Okay, that's our dark patina on there. And now the next color I want to use is shimmering silver metallics. So I'm going to pick that up. If you're more of a gold person, you can use golds out here. Some metallic gold. This is going to be really nice looking. Get my water off of there where it runs. So we've got a nice metallic sort of border there. It's going to look really nice with our center here. So I'm going to get it dry and then touch up around this edge on the center and get my pattern transferred on so we can get going. Alright, we've got our border done, our background in the middle is done, and I've got my pattern traced on here. So we're going to start putting some base coats on here. First I want to undercoat my flower. Because I'm painting a red flower, and especially the red that I'm using tends to be a little transparent. At least the red I think I'm going to be using. I could change that completely before I apply the red to it. I'm going to undercoat my flower petals in Gray Sky. So now this line here, I want to tell you about this line. If I don't apply paint to that line, which I just did right there, I can erase it. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply paint right on that line. And then I won't have to worry about coming back and erasing it. But once you put paint on your graphite lines, they are set in there. Now I'm not gonna worry about this little curved place right here, because I will come back and draw that in after we paint everything red. So I'm gonna go get all of my flower petals, paint them out individually with an appropriate sized brush, painted with Gray Sky, and all of my leaves, I think I'm going to base them in with leaf green. So I'm going to go get that done and come back and I'll show you how to apply the red on here. Okay, got all my undercoats, or my undercoats on my gray done, and my leaves base coated in. So now we want to paint in the red. I don't know how well you can see, but I painted each leaf in separately, even on this, so I can retain where that leaf is. So after you've painted your, it'll take 2 coats, we're doing Tuscan red. After you've painted your red in, then you'll have to, if you can't tell where your lines are, you'll have to go back and just use your white graphite and transfer those back in. Okay. Add a tiny little bit of water to your paint, and that will help your paint flow. I just dip my brush into my water and then blend it into my paint, and that helps your paint flow so nicely off of your brush. And try not to give a lot of pressure when you're going out to those outer edges. If you do, take your finger and gently graze across it and towards what you've painted, and that will remove any ridge that you may get on that outer edge. You don't want any ridges. You want nice, smooth, beautiful coats. Okay, so I'm going to go and finish 2 coats of this red, and we're going to come back and start adding some detail. This is going to be beautiful. Alright, I'm going to base my stems in here real quickly. Use that desert cactus. And just bring this stem all the way over to here. Take a damp brush and shape that back there a little bit nicer. Stem here. And it is going to come out right about here. It's going to connect to this stem down lower on this stem. We won't see that. We'll put a second coat on them here in a minute. I'm going to erase this graphite line here because it did not go, was not in the place where I needed it to be. And we might fatten this stem up just a little bit when we come back the second time. Okay, we're going to work on shading on this one first, on shading it. I'm going to start with some Napa Red and see if it's going to be dark enough for me. So I'm going to shade where one petal lays on top of another petal. And I can't really see that Napa Red. Can't see it too well. So I'm going to get my soft black out and mix some. So I'm going to dip into my Napa Red and dip, not a full dip, into my soft black. Not quite dark enough, so we'll go a little bit more. So maybe a 1-to-1 there. Makes a little bit darker red. Let's see how this is going to look. That looks much better. So we're going to shade on all of this flower here. Again, where one flower lays on top of another flower. I'm just brush mixing as I go. I don't worry about having a lot of paint mixed up because that doesn't matter when you're doing such small areas. This is a folded edge here. And this one is a folded edge. I'm kind of up on the tippy toe here because that's a very narrow place, and then as I come down here and have more room, I can flatten my brush. on the chisel there. Getting paint a little bit too far over my brush, so let me wash it out. Reload it here. Okay, I'm going to go on this side. Too much water, not enough paint. So I laid my brush on my paper towel, got the excess water out, and reloaded my brush. Go over this one again because I used it with did it with just the Napa red, so it wasn't taking. And then this edge here and along the bowl of the flower is kind of folded back, so we're gonna shade that and shade at the bowl. Mix a little bit more paint here. If you don't think your paint is quite dark enough, you're getting like a really deep wine color when you mix those together. Just add a little bit more soft black in there. And that will really give it that deep wine color. Okay, this is a folded edge here, so we're going to do the back of it. And then we're just going to come up with a little bit of shading on this edge. Shade back here on this edge. Okay. I think we'll pretty much leave this now for our first shading here. We're going to have to bring walk some of those shadings out. Like this needs to be walked up in here, and they're a little bit too confined. I want them to come out a little bit more. So let's go down here to this one. Same thing, brush mix. Okay, we're going to separate our petals. I'm going to try and lay my brush flat wherever I can lay it flat. I want to lay it flat and give soft pressure. Soften my floats out with a mop brush, but that's not something that's necessary for you to do. Okay. Let's go underneath this. This is a turned edge. Edge here. This is another turned edge right here. So I'm going to get a little bit of water on my brush and blend it into my brush with my paint. And lay my brush flat. Just a scooch more paint here. Push that paint into those curved areas. Okay, then this is the petal that lays on top of the other petal. So we're still just going where one petal lays on top of another one and where there is a fold in our flower somewhere. Okay, so this one here lays on top of this one that is folded. And then we're going to shade along the back edge of this one here. Just a touch more. I've got too much water in my brush, so it's thinning my paint down too much. Okay, and down here in the center, we're going to have some dark areas. That's down in the deep part of this. So remember, that's Napa Red and soft black mixed 1:1. That is our first shading for our flowers. Okay, I drew these lines on for you to have some placement, but I'm going to start here. I already started just a little bit. You can't really see it at first. I'm taking some Cad Red, and where I have these lines, I'm just going to drag some of this paint along that line. It'll be a little bit fatter back at the back. This is a little bit different technique than I use. I'm just using a filbert brush, bringing some into that fatter area in the back, and then just bringing it shape following into that flower. And I really thought Cad Red would show up a little bit better than this, but it's not, so. Alright, then this one here. Now we've started a little bit of highlight on that big flower. On the smaller one, we'll just use our brush and highlight with our brush. So this will be a highlight edge here. And then this edge. This right here. This out here. And here. I think I can see this more in front of me than we can on the camera, which is unusual. Usually I can see it very well on the camera, and I can't see it very well in front of me. Okay, so our first highlight does not show up very well, but we're going to intensify that, so not to worry. Okay, I'm going to brighten that highlight. So I've got my Cad Red, and I've added just a tiny bit, teeny tiny bit of Tangelo Orange in there. And I got me a bigger filbert because I thought it would just work better. A little bit here as well. So now we're seeing a little bit more of that highlight. a little bit of water in my paint because it's not wanting to come off my brush very well. I don't want it to come off a lot. I still want it to be more draggy looking. Okay, now we're getting some of that to show up a little bit more. Can't remember, did I do this one? I don't remember. Alright, let's come over here. Keep it more fat at the back, remember. And more narrow as you come down. So I'll start flat and then go up on the chisel edge. There is our second highlight. So actually for the first highlight, if you want, you could do the mix of Cad Red and Tangelo Orange. So let's highlight over here with those colors. This will actually pull down into here a little bit. So we're getting those highlights to show up a little bit more. It's just a 1-to-1 mix. This edge. Put some in here. Kind of pull that out into the middle of that petal. And then this is just a turn petal back here. It looks a little bit different, but it's just like the edge of a petal. Okay. Okay, let's repeat that highlight with just Tangelo Orange. Now I am just dragging this down this flower. Kind of staying up on the very tip. I'm not laying the brush flat because I don't want a ton of paint to come off. Tippy of the brush. Looking good. Alright, let's go up and add some Tangelo Orange up here. Same place as we went before. some of this color in the center of here. I'm just going to kind of slap it in there. Okay, we're going to have to come down and add some highlights on our edges of our flowers down here. So, along this edge. And this one. Turned edges, they need some highlight on them so we know they're turned. This one. Here, this one, because it's on top, and this one here, okay, so while I've got this color on my brush, I'm going to go out here on all these places where I've been pulling the paint. And got a little bit too much water in my brush. I'm going to do these outer edges out here. I'm going to put a little bit right here. I'm just going to take that highlight all the way to the edge of the petal. Just the same color that we've been using. Oops. A little bit too much paint there. Looking good. Okay, I want to add some dark in between the light colors. So I'm going to take my Napa Red and just kind of pull it down. I'm just using my angle brush, or I'm using my curve flat. You can use your angle brush. Straight Napa Red, that's all I'm using. You're going in between every one of those highlights. seem like I'm awfully quiet on this video. Really concentrating, I guess. I hope you're seeing the flower come together here. Okay, I'm going to have to darken that a little bit more. So I'm going to take that Napa Red and a tiny little bit of soft black. I don't want as much soft black as I put in when I was shading. I want just a little scooch of soft black. Okay. I'm just brush mixing again, but if you don't want to continually do that, then you can mix a little bunch of paint. I think we might have to go a little bit brighter on our highlight here. I'm just kind of scooping it right there, and then I'm just taking the tip of the brush where the paint is and very gently pulling it out. All the way down to the center. Just scooping it and making like a V right there. Pulling out a V and then just pulling it down. This is just in all the places where you did it before. Just getting a little bit more shading on there, a little bit more definition. Alright, so while I've got this paint, this mix of paint, too much water in my brush here. Really bring these petals forward. this up onto our flowers, petals a little bit. I got paint way too far over on my bristles, so I had to wash my brush out. And then I want this to be a little bit darker through here. It's got a little bit of a hard line there, so I'm just going to take some water and take some of that paint off and mop it. Okay, that's looking pretty good there. I'm going to go up on this one and darken a little bit, especially at the bowl. Along this edge here. Keep your palette spritzed with water so that you have water to pick up quickly on your brush without dipping it into your water basin. Plus, that's where you can get some clean water, is right there. Flower's looking very pretty. Okay, now we're going to add some Hot Shots Fiery Red. I think on anything red, this just makes everything pop. So we're going to put it mostly in the highlight areas. Too much there, as if that's possible. I love this fiery red. It is just so much fun. So everywhere that you have put a highlight, you're going to put this fiery red. Splash a little bit through the center there. Brighten that up. Oh, doesn't that look gorgeous? Oh my gosh, I love that. I love it, I love it, I love it. So down here, I'm going to use this brush. This is my curved flat. You can use an angle brush, flat brush, whatever it is that you like to highlight with. I'm going to go along these edges with the brush. And I'm going to go along the outer edges here. We're going to pull some of this in a minute, down into our highlight areas. Oh, gorgeous. How much fun is that? just love these neon colors. If you do not have any of the neon colors, I highly recommend that you get some, because there's several colors, so you can use them so many ways. You can glaze with them if you do any kind of like watercolor type stuff and you want bright colors. They work great for that. Okay, I'm just going to pull a little bit of this, not too much, down each one of our highlights. How that flower just pops now. Just amazing. Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. Okay, a little bit more shading with our Napa and soft black. I just want to get right here on these little turned edges. That's looking pretty good. I think I'm going to go one more time down in the center here. Right here. We're going to go over this again when we put our stamen in here, which is probably what we're going to get ready to do here in a minute. I want to add some veining on the flower though real quick. So we're going to do that with a liner brush. And I think we'll thin down some Napa red. Make it inky consistency. Let's see if this is, if they're going to show up. Just some like little teeny tiny, well, you can see those. They're not going to show up tons. You're just going to have some little veins going on in here. Stay up on the very tippy toe of your brush so you don't get heavy lines. These are very delicate, very thin lines in here. I'll do this on every petal and the small one as well. You want to try and keep them following the shape of the petal. They can be a little wiggly. A little bit dark there. This is very delicate work. You can leave this step off if you don't feel comfortable doing it. Something you need to practice, then you can certainly leave it off. Okay, it's just very tiny little veins. I'll wide angle out, and you don't notice them a whole lot, but they're there. So we'll come over here and do some on the smaller flower. That's looking pretty good. Okay, I've drawn in my stamen here. I tried to paint it in with just Tuscan red, but you can't really see it. So I'm going to mix some Tuscan red and some Tangelo orange together to get a little bit lighter of a red color here. There is no specific mix here, just mix a color to where you can see it on your piece here. I just want to be able to see this stamen coming out of there. Okay, I've also added my calyxes on here, but we're going to finish up the stamen first. So I'm going to put a little bit of soft black out on my palette because I want to shade around it and at the base of it here in a minute. But we want to add some dots on our flower. So I'm going to put some moon yellow and some cad yellow on my palette. I have not used these colors anywhere yet, but the cad yellow we'll probably use in the leaves. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and erase my graphite line here. I think I'll be able to see my stamen okay. Okay, well, maybe before I add the little seeds, buds, pollen things on here, I'm going to go ahead and shade. I'm going to mix some Tuscan red and some soft black. Probably going to have 2 Tuscan red, 1 soft black. I'm going to go ahead and kind of shade around it here. Kind of separate it out. Lift it forward a little bit. Kind of see it a little bit more. Okay, so for our yellow dots, they're going to be down here, like on the middle to upper 1/3. So I am just actually I'm going to get a smaller brush here. I'm going to get a 1 round, or you can get a liner brush. A liner brush is going to maybe make them too small, so we're just going to tap in some moon yellow dots in here. We're not taking this all the way to the tip. We're going to put red ones up there. So we just want to keep these mostly right in there. Okay, we'll let those dry out a little bit. I'm going to take my Tangelo orange and my red, my Tuscan red. This time I'm going to have maybe a little bit more orange because I really want it to stand up against the background here. Maybe it does need more red because we have orange. We have orange underneath here. So we'll just go with straight Tuscan red here. And we'll put these at the top. Zoom in. We'll come back and highlight those because we can't really see them too well there. Alright, I'm going to go into my cad yellow and brighten up all of these guys here. Really want to make them pop forward. And I think I'm going to drag a little bit of tangerine orange down on this, just a little bit. Up here I'm going to have to outline it, I think. So I'm going to take my soft black. And just outline it a little bit there. I need to pull that a little bit more forward. Okay, these red ones kind of pull down in. I'm using some cad orange. And I think let's use some fiery red maybe on here. I don't know, I need to bring those red ones a little bit more forward. They need to stay red, but we need to see them. So see them a little bit better there. Alright, so down here at the base, we're going to shade. With some soft black. We'll just go ahead and use this Tuscan red that we have here. We just want to set this stamen down inside the bud here, or the flower here. Really give it some depth there. Okay, let's wide angle out. I think that's going to finish off our flower. Both of our flowers, the petal parts, are done. Maybe just a scooch of lightness in here with some yellow and some orange. I really want to see that stamen coming out of there. Okay, so let all those dots dry because they're kind of thick on there, and you want to make sure that they get dry. You don't want to smear through them. I'm going to put some more cad yellow, another coat on here. I think these need to be brightened up. We had to use moon yellow first because cad yellow is so transparent, and we needed the moon yellow for a foundation. There we go. I think on these yellow ones we could also put a little bitty black dot on them. Some of the flowers that I've seen, they have a little bit of black dots in them. There we go. There we go. I wish I could bring the red ones a little bit more forward, but I probably should have tilted it this way and had it going on that dark area. Then maybe we could see it a little bit better. I don't know, but it looks pretty good. So we're going to start working on our calyxes so we can finish the flowers, the calyxes and the stems, and then we'll go onto our leaves here. Okay, let's start adding some shading on our stems and calyx. They're based in with desert cactus. I'm going to use some leaf green and start my shading. Now these are all going to want to be shaded at the base of them. Got a little bit of water in my brush, so it's not going on as thick as usual. I'll define the separations there on those. And then we'll shade on our stem. Bring it down a little bit. I'll also shade next to our flower here. So you're basically, you know, at the top and bottom of your stem, or where your stem stops. We'll go ahead and shade where the stem stops down here. Well, no, I don't want to do that because I want to. So that's the only one we need to do where it stops. We'll shade on this calyx on the big flower. Right next to the flower is where we'll start. Now this particular flower is, or petal, leaf, I can spit it out there, is turned. So we could have this one turned as well. No, I don't like that. I don't think we could have this one turned because of the shape of it. So I'm going to just leave that one the way it is. Try not to get on your flower petals. And up underneath here. I should probably use a much smaller brush than this because I don't want the green to be in the background. Alright, I'm going to shade the lower part of this one. This green is pretty bright, so you don't want to get it onto your background. Ooh, got a lot of paint on my brush there. And I got it on the flower. Get that off real quick before it dries. Smooth that out. Alright, I'm going to wide angle out because I keep getting you off camera here. Okay, I'm going to get a smaller curved flat. You can go down to a 1/4 inch angle brush. Or just a small flat brush, whatever it is that you like to use. I want to do each side of the stem, so you're going to have a smaller brush for this and stay up on the very tippy toe. Go up here and do this one. Tippy tippy toe. Do the opposite sides. Very tip of the toe here. darken these up here. Little bit'll do ya. Okay, that's starting to look pretty good there. Okay, let's add some lighter color on here. I am going to add, let's see, I think we might add the soft sage, the color that is in the background, and then we'll come back and add a little bit of a brighter highlight on there. But we'll start with the soft sage. I think we can get by with this color because that desert cactus is a little more of a pastel-y green. I think I might have to mix some desert cactus with it because that's a little bit brighter than what I like. So I'm going to go 1 to 1. One dip into desert cactus, one dip into soft sage, and see how I like that. Much better. Tone that way down. So it's just a 1 to 1 dip with your brush, and then just mix it right there on your brush. Don't need to mix a lot, we're not using a lot. I want to streak some of this down into the center of the stem. The calyxes don't really require a ton of detail. We just want them to look like a calyx. Need to darken that a little bit under there, a little bit more. And this one. Need a little water in my brush here. Pick up water drops. Remember, you blend it in to your brush just like you do your paint. Okay, we're going to streak this in our stems. Okay. I might want to darken those up just a little bit, the shading on them. So I'm going to take some, let's see, what color do I have here? Hauser dark green. And I'm going to do equal mix of Hauser dark green and the leaf green. This will get it just a touch darker. Which is what we need, especially in these little bit of darker places. But not so dark that it, you know, makes our eye want to go right to it. Just that mix, just 1 to 1. The Hauser dark green is a little bit more transparent, I think. Alright, a little bit lighter on our leaves now, or on our calyx I mean. We're going to take the cad yellow and brighten up the tips of our calyx. I have just a touch too much water in my brush here. Let me get it out. Reload. If your paint fades away to where you can't even see it when you apply it, you have too much water. So get the excess water out of your brush simply by laying it on a dry spot on your paper towel and letting the excess water come out of your brush. Okay, I think that will do the job for our calyx and our stems. Oh, I missed that stem. Let me get some yellow on that one. Just a little touch. Okay. Alright, that looks, let me wide angle out so I don't have to move the plate back and forth. That looks really good for our stems and our calyx. That was pretty easy. Okay, we're going to move on to our leaves, and we're just about done with this. Okay, let's get started on these leaves. We're going to shade with some Hauser Dark Green. Loading my brush up here. I want to create a center vein here by going beside this line that I drew in here. And then on the other side of it, and we'll leave a gap in the center. And let it come together back there. Alright, I'll do this one here while that one's drying. Lay your brush flat, gentle pressure. Kind of want them to meet where they come together at the tip there. You don't want to take it all the way to the end, although some leaves, their veins do go all the way to the end. It's straighten this out just a scooch here. Okay, we'll go underneath our folded edges with this color. And we'll go along the back edge here. Already given it a little bit of a turned look. We'll go under this one. Clean that edge up. So I just cleaned it up with the water edge of my brush, so it was very easy to do. That's why you need to have water in your brush. I'm up on the toe here because that's pretty tight. Smooth it out just a little bit. Okay, we've got another one over here on this one. Need to make sure that your center vein is dry before you do this one so that you don't go across it and remove it. And then on the tippy toe here on this outer edge, I have my brush literally up and down like this, just going along that edge on that one. Okay. So now I want to shade where it is next to our flower. And the back end of the leaves. So I'm going to finish these two on camera, and then I'll go off camera and finish the other ones, because they'll all be done the exact same way. Okay, so next to this leaf, this is the Hauser dark green. We'll come back and darken this up a little bit. I'm going to walk this out a little bit because this is such a big leaf here. A little bit too much paint there, so I just used my finger and quickly removed it. Okay, getting some nice shading on those leaves. It's looking good. Okay, those lines that I drew for a vein coming off, I just want a very subtle vein coming off of there. So I'm just kind of skimming the paint, on there to create a little bit of a vein. I'm not making tons of definition here. So we can see our veins on there now. Okay, so now I'm adding soft black to make just a little bit richer, darker green. Not quite so transparent. And I just want to repeat some of this darker green. We're going to go under the leaves. And I think we'll do under our turned edges as well. Just darken that up a little bit. So I'm just brush mixing. Take 2 greens to 1 soft black. If you still think like it's too much on the brown side, then just add another little bit of green in there. Go along the center vein just a little bit, just kind of in the middle. You don't have to take it everywhere. I'll move over to this one while that one dries. Do our turned edges, especially the places where it's like scooped in. Those are really going to be our darkest areas. More shadow there, I guess I should say. So I'm going to be up on the tip a little bit more here, and then more flat, really scooping that in there. And then we'll do this one. Okay, so that's got some nice shadow or dark colors on our leaves there. Alright, did some highlighting on this one. I like how it's started out, so I'm going to go over here and show you what I did on this one. I am using chartreuse yellow for my highlight here. So I brought it, just kind of dragged it in between our veins here. We're going to do all of our turned edges, the tops of our turned edges here. This is a new color, this chartreuse yellow. Alright, I should probably go to a smaller brush here. Get that edge. We're going to go on the outer edges of the leaves a little bit here. And lighten them up. Around to this side. I found many different styles of, or shapes of leaves with different hibiscus. I was surprised at the different kind of leaves there were. So you can probably create any kind of leaf that you want and it would look just fine. Okay, just kind of drag some of that up in there. I'm going to go over here and add a vein to this one while that one dries. So we're going to take our Hauser dark green and thin it down. We're going to use our liner brush, your detail brush, whatever fine brush that you have. We're going to want to pull a stem into this one here. So I'm going to have it coming from about here. And I'm going to pull it into the stem. Fatten it up just a touch. I think I might add a tiny little soft black to that back here. Make it a little darker. And then on the front part here, where it comes into the leaf, I'm going to go with that lighter green. I need to darken it up right there where it comes into it. Right here. Okay, now we're going to take our green and soft black mix and thin it down. So I just had my green thinned and I just went and got some soft black and mixed it in with it. And we want to create some veins in here. Just a little extra detail. You can leave this part off if you prefer not to do it, or are a little worried that, you know, you might get your veins a little too heavy. It's good to practice with your detail brushes or your liner brushes to learn to get your paint the right consistency and to stay up on the tip of the brush. Those are very important steps to be able to do. Okay, so I think we're going to call that leaf complete. I like the way it looks. So we're going to go over here and work on this one. Now we don't have a stem that we have to pull into this one. These two right here will have a little bit of a stem coming into them. But you'll just do it the same way that I just did this one with your Hauser dark green, a little bit of soft black, and kind of blend it, into your leaf. And then just the chartreuse yellow there. So on this one, we're going to go with our chartreuse yellow. If I can get it thin enough here, so I don't want to flow on my brush. And we're going to come down the middle. I've got water on my ferrule. I don't want that to be rushing down on my brush any. So there's our center. And then we're going to take our mix and create some veins. Oh, that one's kind of fat. I'll just touch that back. These can be very subtle, kind of like in our flower there. They don't have to be a giant detail that you notice right away. It's just that as you continue to look at it, you notice more and more detail. This is just one of those things that it's like, oh, there's some veining in those leaves. Wow. Okay, let's turn it right side up here so you can see those leaves. I think they look pretty good. Let's wide angle out. So that's how we're going to finish these other two leaves here. They're going to be done the exact same way. Oh, and don't forget this little one peeking back there. He won't take much to finish him because he'll be, you know, mostly dark. So you won't see you'll see a little bit of highlight on this edge here, but not a whole lot because he's kind of behind everything. So I'm going to go finish up these other leaves, and then we're going to see if there's anything we want to adjust. We're almost done with this project. Okay, I think I have all the leaves done. So your final thing is to go around in the background, and if there's any places that you feel like you need to touch up, then go ahead and touch up with your background color. And this will just finish off the project nicely. And I wanted to mention, I'm going to get my eraser out here and erase my graphite lines that didn't get covered up, so we don't have any of those in here. I wanted to mention on the on this particular leaf right here, it's a really big leaf that's moved out, but you could also turn this into two leaves like this one could be coming right here down into that leaf, and then this could be a separate one out like that. So that's another option you can do with the leaves there. So let me wide angle out just a little bit more so we can see the whole plate. I think that is going to finish this plate up nicely. I really love the colors in this flower. I'm very happy with the shine on the border. I love that. So pretty. So pretty. You could add a little bit of that silver or the patina color, this color in on our calyx or our leaves, just to bring some of that shine in if you want, but I like it just out here on the leaves, and I think it turned out beautiful. Right now I think I'm going to name this project Beauty in Red, because I just love this project. Was fun. So I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you will paint it, post your pictures. I love seeing pictures of your work, and give me any kind of feedback or comments that you have for this project, and I will see you guys on the next one.